In this day I felt I was getting better, and I was right, because I managed to reach 2200, which is great. But in the meanwhile, while I was trying to reach the goal, I found and challenged a lot of strong players. One of them was this Fide master. I feel good, I'm ready to go, I'm playing with white, and the first move I play, as you probably know, is e4. Now, if you're wondering why, and by the way, if you're wondering why this Fide master is only 2200, it's probably because he doesn't play a lot online and he plays a lot of long games on the board, so he probably thinks that 10 minutes is a really fast game. Many bullet players would disagree, but this is just to say that probably in classical is a monster, but in a rapid game might be a bit worse. But anyway, 2200 is still a pretty good score. So in Soundsware, since he is a really strong player and he knows the meta, he plays the Sicilian obviously. Now I'm working on the open Sicilian, but since my opponent was really strong, I decided to keep playing the close Sicilian because it's the opening I know and I don't want to risk. So he answered with this move, which is the main line, although against the close Sicilian we'll play something else because this allows bishop on b5. And if you allow bishop on b5, we basically get into a middle game where white is better and I don't have a lot of problem, so you're basically just helping me. In this position he plays g6, and as I said, I can take the knight, they take back, and as you can see, it's good that I traded my bishop for the knight, which is a thing that usually you shouldn't do, and I always say don't do that. But in this opening, is theory by the way, you can do that because your plan is putting all your pawn on y square, or pretty much most of your pawn, you're going to play something like this, probably. And your last cool bishop will just be a bad piece, so the point is that I'm trading it and I develop the pawn on light squares. Now I play f4, which is the best move, taking space. I want to play knight on f3 and castle as soon as possible. My opponent as well in this way with bishop on g7, which is a logical move, obviously. And I play knight on f3, which Stockfish doesn't really like, I don't know why, but this is supposed to be theory anyway. And now he plays e6, which is a mistake. It's a mistake because it allows me to play e5. If I manage to play e5, I can't develop the knight on f6. I can play the knight on e7, that's true, but I have a lot of space. Although after I play this, I have weaknesses on this square, so for this reason I decided not to do that, even though e5 is the best move. And I played d3, consolidating the position, and he plays knight on e7, which for Stockfish is inaccurate. Don't really understand why. I think because you still play e5, but let's say you play e5, you can get in. Let's say knight on f5. Probably, yeah, now knight on e4. Yeah, and you basically say, yes, his knight is good, but your knight is even better. And that's the point. You probably castle and play g4, I guess. So you have a really aggressive position that computers usually like with a lot of space. Instead of doing that, I just decided to castle, and as you can see, what is better? What is better because your structure is damaged, you have more space in the center, and my pieces are better. That's why you shouldn't really play knight on c6, and instead of doing that, just play, for example, g6, e6, d6, a move that doesn't give me a target with my light square bishop, so I need to develop the bishop on g2 instead and fake to it. Now e-castle, which again looks like a logical move. If you check me, I just slide the king back, so I thought that wasn't a problem. I just slide the king back, try to be safe. Okay, maybe this wasn't the best move. He still wants me to play e5, but yeah, obviously he's not losing, he's still playable. And he played b6, consolidating the position, and I want to develop pieces, so I play bishop on e3, which makes sense. Now he plays a5, trying to take a lot of space then to take a lot of space in the queen side, which usually it's a plan. And in order to prevent that, I just play a4. Play a4, so let's say he plays b6, just take, knight take. He has counterplay, but he also has weaknesses, so I think it's better for me if he plays b5. Yeah, exactly, it's better. This is a mistake. Okay, perfect. So he plays bishop on a6, and bishop on a6 has a point. You want to play c5, then to damage my structure, and I need to be careful because this bishop it's in the rook. So I play queen on e1, which usually is a plan in the close Sicilian. Queen on e1, then play queen on h4, makes sense. And now you go for this plan, pushing the pawn. Now the best move was taking, but I decided to push the pawn. And honestly, I really don't understand why this move is bad. Let's say I actually take this pawn, which says is good. It also says queen on f2. Queen on f2 threatening this. But let's say I take this pawn, it just take. Yeah, and now I'm supposed to have an advantage after rook on f2. But I can't really understand why. Because these pawns looks really good. Don't see why I'm supposed to have all of this advantage. This might be a weakness, but it's not impossible to defend, obviously. So yeah, I don't get it. Instead of doing that, I just decided to push the pawn because now I have a lot of space. This pawn is a weakness, so that's why I did that. And this bishop doesn't make a lot of sense. That was my point. Although it's good that he has b5, which he played. b5 is a really good move, and I mean, you probably have to take it. You don't have to take it, because you can play, let's say, knight on e2, he says. But I was really scared about before, so I just take the pawn, he take, and this is weak, and this is kinda weak. Even if you push, I just move the knight, and that's safe. Now, I think I played a good move. Stockfish doesn't agree, but don't understand Stockfish. Yeah, you see what I mean when I say don't understand Stockfish. Like, takes 2 hours to choose who is the best move. And sometimes, like, let's say now I'm saying queen on f2 is the best move, but this is the best move. So yeah, I can't really understand. Sometimes it's not working as it should. But yeah, knight on e2, it's quite a good move. It's logical because I'm basically avoiding before. Let's say now you can play before, but you're not threatening the knight because I already moved it. And this pawn is pretty weak, so I can try to put pressure on the pawn somehow. So it makes sense as a move. You push this pawn, which is inaccurate. Now, this is an important tip. Against ground player, usually people are scared and want to play really solid because otherwise they lose because they're a strong player. But that is the exact way to lose. If you don't challenge your opponent, if you don't challenge the strong player, if you don't take the pawn that he wants to give to you, you're going to lose. You need to take the challenge. So for this reason, I took the pawn, which makes a lot of sense. Now, you can take with the knight. He says, I thought that before I was losing, I could actually go back. But also with the queen makes sense. Now that I think about that, taking with the knight makes more sense because I just go back and the queen is not the target, but probably is playable. Probably is playable. And I mean, if you take with the pawn, it's not a great move. I give him a pass pawn, I just basically help him. So I just take with the queen, and if he plays b4, I just go back defending the knight and then save. If he plays b4, I just go back defending the knight. That was my point. Now, he plays f5, and I need to be careful because if I take, I open the file for him, can take with the knight also, for example. The file for the bishop is open, and now I play the best move, and it's really important to play this move. Well, maybe it's not the best move, but it's close to. it's e5. e5 is a good move, why? Because this file is closed. And this diagonal is closed. In this position, the dark square bishop is a really good piece, but now is blocked. So I did a really good thing. His point, though, is that if I play e5, this square is pretty weak, so I can place a knight there, but it's not the end of the world, as you can see, it's equal. Now, he played this, and I'm not scared about losing the bishop. I can lose the bishop because, as you can see, it's just an obese pawn, as I used to say on Twitch. It does absolutely nothing. It's useless. So if you want to take my bishop, just take it. I don't care. And I play c3. Now c3 has a point. For Stockfish doesn't make any sense, but c3 has actually a point. And I saw the line. I saw the line. The point is that, let's say, take. You take my knight. I take. And knight take. But after that, I have queen on c4. And I have a point. I lost a pawn, but I was up a pawn. This pawn, I think, is more of a weakness than an advantage for you. And this pawn is definitely weak. I also have a plan in the future to push this pawn. And get in with the rooks on the queen side. So I saw this position and I thought that I could actually sack the pawn in order to have a position with equal material but better chance to win, which makes sense. And I wanted to sack the pawn because I was in trouble. If I don't sack this pawn, as you can see, my opponent has a ton of pressure. This bishop is a monster, this knight is a monster. So I sack the pawn trying to trade material in order to have a good position. So I thought it was a really clever move. Obviously it's not for Stockfish, but it worked anyway. So the best move is rook f on c1. I play c3 and my opponent decided not to take. Queen b6 is a miss. Okay, so at this point what I did is playing rook on c1 because I have a strong threat. Don't want to take this pawn, I want to push the pawn. If I push the pawn, I have a pass pawn, and these three pawns become just monsters. That's my threat and it makes a lot of sense. And now I played bishop on h6. Now bishop on h6, I knew it was a mistake. It's a mistake because, first of all, this is not under attack. It's defended 3 times, so don't worry, you're not going to win it. You're not even going to push because I still have this. And if you push, I still have this anyway, so it doesn't make any sense. And this allows me to play c4, as I said. c4 is a great move. I have a pass pawn and a really good structure at this point. I also managed to play the strong knight, which is really important. Now this bishop is not as strong as it was. I might also play b3, stopping any push, and I'm feeling pretty good. This is defended 3 times, this is defended 2 times. You can't really push this, so I'm feeling pretty good. He pushed the pawn, probably because he wants to avoid b3, which in my mind makes sense. Stockfish mind it doesn't. Stockfish suggests to play queen on d2. Instead of doing that, I just played queen on c3. Which now is the best move. So I play queen on c3. I put pressure on the pawn. If you push, you still lose the pawn. And there is also pressure on this pawn. And I might have ideas of rook on a3. This pawn is even more defended. This pawn is still defended. And I think that's a really good move. Now, yeah, he played rook on c8. Makes sense. Still putting pressure on this pawn. And I need to do something about that. Now, Stockfish is saying that I could take the pawn, but I don't understand why. Let's say I play this, and what? Oh, you sack the rook for the bishop. If queen take, I win the rook. And if rook take, I win the queen. Yeah. I absolutely missed that move. Absolutely missed that move. Instead of doing that, I thought I played the logical move, which is c5. It still makes sense. My knight is under attack, although the queen is under attack too. And now you need to be careful, because when you play this move, you need to be sure that wherever the queens move, you're not going to lose the knight. Let's say I have a piece there, and the queen moves attacking the piece. I lose one piece anyway. So you need to be really careful. I thought about that, I thought this was a playable move. I have a good stature. I might give this pawn back, but my stature is pretty good and he is plenty of weaknesses and I still have a pawn. That's my point. I still have a pawn, so I can even sack material. The queen has to move and the knight is under attack. So I defend the knight, I take, and he take the pawn. And I calculated well, because this position is still definitely better for me. And it's good that he wins a pawn, but this is hanging and this is hanging. And now I just have to choose from one of both. Now Stockfish is saying queen takes b3 is the best move. Probably it is. I was scared about something like that. So in my mind, I was like, if I take this pawn can't move anyway, so I'm going to target in the future. This pawn can move though, so I want to take this pawn first. So for this reason, I decided to take the pawn this way. I take. And if you're wondering, did you blunder checkmate? No, I didn't blunder checkmate. I saw all this line, I saw that he can play this, and now I move the queen, and I saw that if he check me, I can just block with the rook. Could also block this way, but doesn't look brilliant. I block with the rook, maybe with the rooks, and life is good, I still up a pawn, and I have a risk down pass pawn. So he plays g5 instead. g5 I think it makes sense. Makes sense because he wants to put pressure on the king side. He has a really strong queen, he has a strong bishop, the rook is getting in, so it's a really difficult position to play. In fact, now I'm taking a lot of time to think, and in this position I decided to take the pawn. As I said, against strong players, accept the challenge. If you do not accept the challenge, you lose. So think about that. I'm going to lose anyway, so let's fight. If I have to lose anyway, at least let's fight. And the best thing about this is that you don't have to lose anyway, because if you fight, you have winning chance. So now I'm up 2 pawns, so you need to be really precise. And this +2 for white, I evaluated this position well. I was like, well, I don't think he has all this threat in the world, so I think it's still playable. And the point was, if he attack my knight, I play knight on g1. And knight on g1 is a strong move, because if you play rook on a1, it's not with check. My king is defended. This is not a threat. If you push this pawn, I just take, let's say bishop take with the queen. So the queen also defend all this rank. So it's still a good position. He plays rook on a1. And now I should play rook on f2. But instead of doing that, I decided to give a check. Which for some reason is a draw. I guess because black can threaten mate and I just need to defend all the time. He says queen on h8. But instead of doing that, I'll just play queen on d6. And I thought my position was pretty good and annoying, because now you can't go for your plan, because I have a really annoying queen. That's kind of what I thought. I also thought that, let's say he moves the queen and he tries to attack me, I at least have a perpetual, and that's why it's a draw. Let's say he play queen on b5, which is the best move. I guess he has a really aggressive setup now. If I play this, he hits me with this and I lose. So the best move is actually d5. So you basically can't move the rook, otherwise you lose, I guess. Yeah, that's crazy. The queen gets in. Yeah, you basically just want to give check. To give check all the time. And that's why it's a draw, but my opponent missed that. I kinda missed that too. So he took the queen. After he took the queen, I was like, I win this. I absolutely win this. It might be a bit difficult, but I'm sure I can win this. I don't have a lot of time, but at least I'm going to try. I see this really difficult, that is going to be a loss for me. And I decided to take with this pawn. With this pawn is better for a simple reason. If I take this way, I just have one pass pawn. But if I take this way, and this move is going to be pretty good in the future, I have 2 pass pawn. That's really clever to do. Maybe my opponent thought that he had this move, attacking the knight, but if you play this, I just take the bishop. So at this point he put pressure on the pawn, but I calculated a really strong line. In this position I attack the bishop first, so not getting mated, and I think this is a pretty reasonable move. And at this point I play c6, which is the best move. And c6 has a point. Let's say you take this. I can just play c7. And you might say, yeah, but the rook can attack the pawn. The rook can attack the pawn. And now stop this. If you move the king, I still make a queen. So this is unstoppable. I saw this and I was really happy with what I played. So my opponent decided not to take the pawn because he saw the threat and tried to defend the position with the king. Now, I'm really greedy. I'm a greedy guy. I'm not scared of these guys. As I say, just take the challenge, take how much material you can so they don't have counterplay and you can be safe. And I decided to take the pawn. It's not the best move, but come on, this is dead lost, obviously. And now the best move was playing pawn on c7, but I saw a 4c line, which was pawn on d7. Pawn on d7 is a 4c line. And threatening this, king move, and I make a queen, and if you take, I give a check, you move, I give another check with the rook. Let's say you play king on d6, I make a queen and win the rook, so GG. Play this move instead, and guess what? Still make a queen. And if you take with the rook, take with the rook, and I'm up a rook in this endgame, which obviously is dead lost, so my opponent decided to resign. This was our accuracy in the game. This, I think it was one of the best game I played, not because of the accuracy, it's high, but not even that high, but it's because the position was really difficult, but I still managed to calculate well. I made a few mistakes, but don't think I made like losing mistake. I made a mistake that led to a draw, but my opponent missed that. So I'm really happy about this game. I see that I'm getting better, and also I see on the score that I'm getting better. I finally reached 2200 and I'm probably going to make a video about that. And that's it for today. That's how you beat Fide Master, and see you in the next video.